If you've ever heard the sound of sirens screaming closer and closer, knowing they're coming for you, even though you did nothing wrong, you'll understand the nightmare that unfolded on my driveway. One minute I was admiring my brand new Corvette with my son. The next, I was standing there with my hands up, treated like a criminal in front of my neighbors. And all of it started with one entitled neighbor and her spoiled son who thought they owned our street. That Saturday had been perfect. Blue skies, warm, but not too hot, the kind of day you actually feel proud to live in the suburbs. I'd spent the morning doing yard work, then sat back in the garage with a glass of lemonade just staring at the car I'd waited 20 years to buy. Torch red Corvette C8. It wasn't just a car, it was a symbol. Every late night, every business trip I didn't want to take, every time I told my family not this year when it came to vacations. It all added up to that machine gleaming in the sunlight. My son, Jamal, 17 straight A, student robotics team volunteers on weekends. He was washing it like it was a newborn. 2 buckets, microfiber cloth music playing soft from a little speaker. He took my rule seriously. Nobody sits in that car without me. Not his friends, not even him unless we're going somewhere. That's just how it was. Then came Kevin, the kid next door. Big sloppy, always sulking like life wronged him by making him get out of bed. He stopped at the edge of our driveway and asked, "Is that new?" Jamal, polite as ever, nodded. Kevin's next words, "Can I sit in it?" lit the fuse. Jamal said no, calmly. Explained it was my rule. That should have been it. Instead, Kevin stepped closer, scowled, and said, "My dad says your dad probably can't even afford it anyway. He probably sells drugs." I saw my boy stiffen from inside the garage. He's tough, but those words hit hard. He told Kevin to leave the property, voice steady. That's when the screen door slammed across the street and out came the storm herself. Karen. Blonde bob, sharp enough to slice glass, marching like a general on a mission. Kevin pointed at Jamal, whining, "He won't let me sit in the car." And Karen unleashed the line that burned into my memory. "If you don't get your grubby hands off that car and let my son sit in it, I'll make sure the police drag your thug self out of this neighborhood." My blood ran cold. She called my kid a robotics nerd who volunteers at the animal shelter a thug. Because he's black, because he said no. I walked out calm, measured, trying to stop this from blowing up. "That's enough," I said, stepping between them. But Karen just sneered, doubled down. She accused us of lowering property values, of not belonging. Then she pulled out her phone. "That's it, I'm calling the police." And she did. Right there in front of me, she started sobbing fake tears and telling 911 there was a large, intimidating man and his gang-looking son threatening her. By the time the cops rolled in, lights flashing, neighbors peeking through curtains, I knew we were done for. 2 cruisers boxed us in one officer hand, resting on his gun. "Hands where I can see them," he barked. My son lifted his eyes wide, humiliated. Karen was playing victim perfectly, clutching her boy like a hero shielding her child from monsters. Another neighbor, Brenda, waddled over in her pink housecoat, claiming she saw everything. Of course she hadn't, but she backed up Karen's story anyway. And in that moment, watching Jamal being frisked on our own driveway for weapons he never had, I felt something I hadn't in years: helplessness. I wanted to yell, to fight, but deep down I wondered. Had I made it worse by moving us here? Was I naive, thinking a nice car and a quiet life would shield us? For a split second, I thought maybe the smart move was to back down, swallow it, let Karen win, just so my son wouldn't end up in handcuffs. But then it hit me like lightning. The cameras. I had installed a full 4K security system when we moved in. Every angle, audio, crystal clear. The fight, the slurs. Kevin's insults, all of it was on tape. A lifeline. So I told the officers. At first, they scoffed. But when I played the footage, Kevin demanding Jamal, politely refusing Karen, storming over yelling thug, then lying to 911, the entire tone shifted. The truth was undeniable. One cop looked furious, not at me but at Karen. Brenda stammered and shuffled away. Karen. She went pale, sputtering nonsense about deepfakes and entrapment. The cops warned her about filing false reports. For a moment I thought justice had been served. But Karen wasn't done. Oh no. 2 days later, she blasted the neighborhood Facebook group with a long post painting my son as a dangerous delinquent and me as some angry man who charged at her. She left out the parts the cameras caught, and people believed her. Walking the dog, I'd see neighbors cross the street. At the grocery store, my wife heard whispers. Jamal's friends pulled away. It was death by gossip, slow and cruel. That's when I contacted a lawyer, Mr. Clark. Sharp guy, mid-50s, no nonsense. I laid it all out, gave him the flash drive. He nodded and said, "You know her husband, Robert. He's not just a lawyer, he's the HOA president." My stomach dropped. Suddenly, everything made sense. The arrogance, the way they acted like they owned the place. Clark told me other families had suffered too. A Hispanic family fined non-stop for landscaping. An Asian family whose permits mysteriously vanished. Rumors, but no proof. Until now. Because I had Robert on tape too. See, Robert came over one evening smooth as butter, apologizing, offering a settlement to drop the lawsuit. When I refused, the mask slipped. He leaned in and said, "You don't want to make an enemy of me. I run in a lot of circles. City Council Zoning Board, HOA. I can make your life very uncomfortable here." He didn't know the camera above the garage was recording every word. Clark nearly jumped out of his chair when I showed him. "This isn't just harassment," he said. "This is abuse of power. He's using the HOA to discriminate." And Saturday, that HOA meeting, perfect stage. So we went. Packed community hall, people buzzing, curious why half the neighborhood had shown up. Robert sat at the front like a king, smiling, shaking hands, about to run unopposed for re-election. He spotted me and my lawyer and faltered just for a second. The meeting droned on finances, lawn maintenance, then Robert opened the floor. Clark stood up calm as ever. "This concerns the fitness of our HOA president," he said. Robert tried to brush him off, but Clark nodded at me. I pulled out a projector, and there on the wall behind Robert, Karen's shrill voice rang out for everyone to hear. "Get your grubby hands off that car. I'll have the police drag your thug self out of this neighborhood." Gasps. Jaws dropped. Neighbors turned to look at her sitting in the back, pale as chalk. Then came the second video, Robert on my driveway, voice dripping with menace. "You have no idea how uncomfortable I can make your life here." The room exploded. People shouted, demanded answers. Other families stood up. Yes, they said he'd targeted them too. The picture was clear. Robert wasn't a leader. He was a bully with a badge of authority. His empire crumbled in minutes. Board members scrambled to distance themselves. Residents shouted for his resignation. By the end of that night, Robert was finished. Karen sat frozen silent, for once her kingdom burning down around her. And me, I just stood there, arm around my son, watching the people who tried to crush us collapse under the weight of their own lies. The truth has a way of shining, no matter how many hands try to cover it.